Professor Özlem Varlı of Yıldız Technical University and Professor Gökhan from IFSO, and also Nishihara Sensei is here. Yeah, please welcome. Sorry, Mrs. Yenti, please. After closing session, we will have a photo together.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. So together with me in this table are officials of the International Federation of Social Science Organizations and also of the Yildiz Technical University that are co-sponsors to this activity. So let me start with my reflection on what we have achieved in the past 2 days. So the theme of the conference was on coming together, or the ways and means in living in peace and harmony in a multicultural world. And the papers that were presented in this conference dealt with this topic. Some topics dealt on the question of pluralism. Actually, this is not something new for IFSO. It was a building on previous topics that have been initiated by IFSO probably since 2 or 3 conferences ago. But of course, there would be different dimensions to the papers that were presented. I think one significant contribution that has been incorporated into this discussion is on the spiritual development aspect, because in the past, social scientists shied away from discussions on spiritual development and only talked about other aspects of development such as economic and political, and to some degree cultural development. I remember when we were still negotiating with the Istanbul Foundation for Science and Culture in doing this conference together, there was a concern from the foundation whether would you really want to do this with us, because we're more doing spiritual things instead of real pure social science. And my response was, of course, IFSO would like to dialogue with any group working for peace and harmony, whatever theoretical school of thought they're coming from the academe, or whether that school of thought is coming from a spiritual dimension. So I think this is one important difference of this conference that we have. There were other papers dealing with very specific topics. I'm sorry if I could not mention all of them. During this last session, we talked about border issues, political issues, abuse of children, about women's and gender rights, about ethnic people's rights and indigenous people's rights. All of this have been, I think, important in the discussion in these 2 days. It was a combination of both global and regional issues as well as local issues. So I was telling Joseph, for example, We are discussing about Caribbean as a region and discussing Pasig City as a locality, which actually is a good entry point to the next conference that we're having in Tokyo, but I'll ask Dr. Nishihara to talk about it, where the global and the local interfaces with one another. I think also some of you have attended previous IFSO conferences and noticed some differences in terms of styles in organizing conferences. Like the 2009 conference in, 2011 conference in the Philippines was quite pompous and extravagant with 1,000 participants, with songs and dances, typical of a Filipino fiesta. Of course, this is more like an academic setting of a more intimate type of discussion. We welcome different approaches to discussions, but I think the conference that we're having now is quite successful in terms of the number of country participants. Countries such as Albania, Algeria, that in the past IFSO did not have any communication with, and Kashmir, of course, as a country. And then, of course, it's a welcome thing, which means we're really acting what we wanted to talk about. That we want to come together despite differences. We do not have to have a common view of everything. We could have a lot of political and ethnic and cultural differences, but the most important thing is we come together, sit together, eat together, laugh together, peacefully and in harmony. So with that, I think this conference has been very successful. As president of IFSO, of course, I'm not sure whether I'm still the president tomorrow, because tomorrow is the General Assembly of IFSO. Let me take this opportunity to thank executive board members of IFSO, the advisory board of IFSO, member organizations and member individuals of IFSO, as well as the Istanbul Foundation for Science and Culture, as well as Yildiz Technical University for this successful activity. I would also like to thank the persons who are nameless but running around helping us in the registrations, in video documentation, in shuttling us from the guest house or hotel up to this venue. And of course, I would like to name one person in special, Mr. Hakan Gulerche, who has been very instrumental in the organization of this conference. So again, thank you very much. Let me call the Vice President of IFSO, Dr. Kyokam, from the National Research Council of Thailand, and also Thammasat University.
Sorry, Chulalongkorn University.
A competitor university.
Conference on Harmony, overlook that. I'd also like to thank you, really, because this is my first time ever in Istanbul and in Turkey, and I have to say that I'm very impressed. I feel very comfortable. On a personal note, we got lost last night walking around in the city. We were still around walking the streets at midnight, but I felt very safe and very comfortable. And this is a wonderful country, and I'm so glad that Hakan, especially, was very instrumental, like the president of IFSO said, in the inception of this conference itself since the beginning. He was the one who offered. in every possible way. This would not have been possible without Hakan. Thank you very much. And it's also such a wonderful beginning of actually trying to bring IFSO more towards Europe. It's been in Asia for so long, and we do need to try to move it towards Europe, and there's no better place than Turkey or Istanbul. And I hope that Hakan will continue to help us in doing that. In tomorrow's executive board meeting, I hope that we will have Turkey involved in becoming the committee for IFSO itself. And from there, I'm also very happy that you've bridged us to the Middle Eastern countries and participants who are also individuals who've come not even through the organizations. In my case, from Thailand, the National Research Council of Thailand is an organization member of IFSO. And they have actually set it as a budget, an annual budget of the National Research Council itself, to actually make sure that there is a Thai participant to come and attend IFSO in every way that we can. And so I'd really like to encourage you, if not through the organization, as individual participants, because from this conference, I think that it has shown that if we can keep this up, there will be a forum for us to be able to, like we see all the differences, but it's a place that we can say what we want, and be able to communicate to each other what we see and what we feel, and be able to just come out of the conference still being friends. And I don't think that's possible in any other forum. So I leave that with you, and I do thank you very much, and I hope that IFSO will continue with your support, all of you. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call the Secretary General of IFSO, Dr. Yeti Maunaki of the Indonesian Science Council.
Thank you very much. So, as Secretary General, actually I'm supposed to do a lot of things. But thank God, because Hakan actually done almost everything that I'm supposed to help. But actually I don't really help. So he's really doing a lot of things for IFSO. So for the Secretary General especially. So today I'm still the Secretary, but tomorrow hopefully Turkey and maybe Hakan will be the I think we will choose Hakan to, if everybody agree, to be the Secretary General, because he's really efficient and is really good in handling this kind of conferences. So I think then later on in Tokyo will be held by Hakan. And it's also, as mentioned by Klokap, this is the bridge of European and Asian and other places, African. Because before we always have Asian. So our conference is always Jakarta, Bali, and Pitsanulok, Manila. So all around Southeast Asia. But this is really good. And maybe I should also, even though Pak Castro already said something, but I think I would like also to say that my impression for this conference, I really learned a lot, and I'm so glad that I'm here and I learned. Especially, I must mention that I'm really happy to learn from Father Thomas and from Professor Colin, because this is on the nursery. It's really it's really make me feel so happy, because we Indonesians, we have a lot of problems and we are Muslim, but we cannot really managing the multicultural life. But with the idea of nursery, I think we can really spreading this idea to many countries. I think including Philippines, who have a problem with the Moro, Bangsa Moro, and also Thailand, who have a problem with the Patani. So I think this kind of idea is really good for us. So I'm so thank you, and I do want to mention other of course is also very good, but Castro already mentioned it. So this really my impression, and my impression of Turkey, of Istanbul. Istanbul is I've been here before, but in Ankara. But Istanbul is really it's the best place. So for me, I'm a Muslim, so I feel like that Blue Mosque is really, it's kind of pilgrimage for me. So I haven't done my pilgrimage in Arab, in Mecca, but here I feel that I actually done a small pilgrimage, I think. And one thing that I should make announcement that in Indonesia and Bali, Bali is also the second best according to Professor Yala. That second best after Turkey, after Istanbul. So in November we will have the World Forum on Culture. November, I think around 20 to 29. So everybody of Oslo will come if you want to join. So Professor Tutut Ardana, but he already left, but I think Hakam also got his email. So if you want to set like a panel on the culture, so you are welcome. So okay, so you must also visit Bali because Bali is also second best.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yeki. So I would like to call on Executive Member Kazuhisa Nishihara, who is a sociologist, of course, teaching at Seijo University in Tokyo, and a representative of the Science Council of Japan. Tokyo will be hosting the 2015 IFSO conference, and right now Dr. Nishihara is also the chair of the organizing committee of that conference. Dr. Nishihara.
Thank you. I'm from Seijo University in Tokyo, and next General Assembly and the conference will be held there in Tokyo in 2015 in my university. So my university is compared to Yale Technical University or Istanbul University, not so big university, old, middle-sized private university, which is considered for upper-class student. And main theme subject will be globalization, as President Castro mentioned. And my university has a center named CGS, Center for Global Studies. So I'm planning to hold the conference in September of 2015 in cooperation with this center. Well, Tokyo is a very safe city. Earthquake has gone. And but unfortunately, hotel and transportation is a little bit expensive. So I'm now negotiating with SCJ, Science Council of Japan, to support us financially. So the most important factor for Science Council of Japan to support us is they asked the question to me whether IFSO is a really international association. So it asked me the other day such questions. But now, after the 21st conference, successful conference, I can answer with confidence. IFSO is really international. So speakers came from all over the world, including not only Asian, but also West and East Europe, and from Africa, and America. So anyway, coming to Japan from all over the world is absolutely important for us. So I asked my friend in North America, Central America, and South America to join us. I'll try to do my best. Okay, and finally, from us. Here, I'd like to introduce other key persons of our local organizing committee. I wanted to introduce three key persons. One is former president of IFSO, Professor Komatsu. I hope he could support us financially. And next is overseas members of local organizing committee from Korea, Professor Kim Ik-ki. And last, Mari Shiba, Secretary of Local Organizing Committee. Ms. Mari Shiba, she can act, behave effectively and kindly, just like Mr. Hata. Okay, from now on, I will start to prepare the conference with them. And so please come to Japan, and I really appreciate in advance for your cooperation. See you in 2015 in Tokyo.
Thank you, Dr. Nishihara. I would like to mention that all of those who participated here, since we have your email addresses, we will invite you to the Tokyo conference in 2015. And finally, I would like to call on the head of the Department of the Humanities and Social Science of the Yildiz Technical University to share his thoughts about this conference, Professor Said Oservari.
Thank you. He is actually the owner of this conference, and he is responsible for all this academic and other things that are going on during these 2 days. But I would like to thank you for being our guest, at least for the venue. I mean, the whole other facilities and other logistics, they were done by Istanbul Foundation for Science and Culture. But we are happy to have you here and to organize this conference, because this was a challenge for us. This is a technological university, and social sciences is just growing, just a kind of baby here yet. And we have graduate studies mainly, but also a small department of humanities and social sciences. But our aim is to have a larger dimension of social sciences, and to make this university into a more combined university of natural and social sciences. Yesterday, Faris Bey complained about the weather, but I think this conference of INSO brought peace to our weather. Also, weather became, livable, or going out for some visits. This is good. I mean, the INSO conference, at least naturally, was given some positive signs. Secondly, also I would like to give 3-4 points about what I learned from this conference academically. First of all, this was a combination of academicians and social organizations. This is something original. I mean, normally there are theoretical talks with no aspect of what is going on in life. So this IFSO conference, they are different from other sociology conferences or other academic conferences, which really something that brings life and knowledge together. Secondly, it is also a combination of many, different fields, different nationalities, different religions. That is also, very interesting. And the points that came out of this conference, one is employment of knowledge, technology, resources, everything that we have, employing them for human happiness. This is really important. I mean, not science or social science just for the sake of science. That is not, we don't have that luxury anymore. Human beings, they are suffering, and there are many things to avoid. So working for happiness is very important, and that came out of this conference. Secondly, spiritual dimensions of human being. I mean, human beings have many dimensions. One is spiritual dimension. Usually spiritual dimension give positive contribution to peace. I mean, there were examples like Mursi case, Foucault movement, and ethical values and other things. They were really, interesting cases to know and to have more other cases about. And thirdly, social problems. I mean, many social problems there are, but in this conference, especially migration, regionalism, interregionalism, gender discrimination, and citizenship came, highlighted, and they were talked about. And finally, solutions. Since we work and we study for solutions, there should be more emphasis on solutions. And solutions that came out of this conference, one was holistic approach, and the other was dialogue between among religions and also ethnicities and others. The other one, tolerance, and finally, violence management. And these are important issues really we have. And solutions, of course, there should be more, work as, more documents, more statistics, more work in order to have better solutions, correct solutions. And lastly, next, in 2 years, there will be, another conference, 22nd conference in Japan. And the synthesis that came out of this conference, especially on solutions, will be probably the main issues of that conference. The localism or global localism, maybe. Global localism is better to have both of them, is the central theme of the conference. So probably the synthesis and solutions, they will be much examined, much better examined in the conference. So this was my first participation of an IFSO conference. I will very much, if there isn't any other difficulty, I will very much be happy to join the next conference in Japan. But we hope to see all of you. And once again, thank you for coming. This was an exam period, and students, they were very busy with their exams, so they are not, and as I said, most of them, they are engineering students. So next time, when we have another conference, probably, we will again host, we don't want to go to go to Istanbul University or other universities, but our university is with more students, more social scientists, and hopefully more solutions. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what happens after this? IFSO will publish the papers presented in this conference into a journal, and Hakan will edit that journal and will communicate with especially the paper presenters. Maybe there's still room to improve some papers based on certain comments that were made, and we'll incorporate this into the journal. We'll communicate with you with further details about it. Again, on behalf of IFSO, I would like to thank everyone who attended. Let us all give a clap to our participation in this conference. And before we go out for a tea break, we would like to call you for a photograph of the conference. Everyone, please come here in front, to the stage. Everyone, including.